What's happening, party people? In this episode of Hanging Out with Robert, I guess I got about a week and a half worth of days put in this video. And the highlights is removing the engine, transmission, angle gear from a S60 T6 P3 car, 2012. I did a steering rack remix video on a P80 car, all-wheel drive. I dealt with some other little stuff, headlights, flat tires, trying to be creative and getting vehicles pulled up my driveway with a winch, stuff like that. So, hey, there's some stuff in here that's a little fun. Got a couple of people that's trying to sell cars. It's none of my business, but they're, I think, decent deals. There's a guy up in Rockford, Illinois that has a 94 850 turbo, beat pretty bad, but there may be some good stuff on it. I got a guy in Kentucky, Monticello, Kentucky, has a 240 manual that's a 85 model, runs great, drives great, has some decent stuff in it and on it. It's just got some body rust that somebody would have to deal with. That car is really cheap. Another guy here in Chicago has a really clean 240 that is nice, about 120,000 documented miles on there. Who knows, but that car is nice. He's wanting a decent price for that, but it is probably worth buying. And hey, life is good. So we're in Chicago, probably our last day here. Head back to Cincinnati, take care of some stuff, and then head out west. So hey, I appreciate you all watching. Still trying to get parts loaded on the website. I had I think a 07 S40 CEM on my website for sale. So somebody found that and snagged that pretty cheap. But hey, I hope you all have a good day. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. It's a rainy day in Poolapay. Is it Pool in Pay? I don't know. But they got an S60 here. I know it has blind spot mirrors, but I don't think it has the headlights we like. But we're gonna go check it out, see if we can get a few bits from it, make our car a little nicer. And if it's got the nav stuff, we're gonna be celebrating. Here it is, folks. It's got some good looking lights, even though they're regular looking lights. They're good looking. I'm gonna grab a couple of clips, probably those mirror caps. There are blind spot mirrors, but it does not have the nav system, so this is likely not a nav grill. So the search continue. Back out in the country in the Midwest, we are going to do another drain and fill on this thing. Maybe repair that. I got one to replace it, fix his sunroof, and make sure his dash panel is properly secure. So let's go ahead and drain that transmission fluid, see how it looks this time. Transmission fluid still coming out dark. Not too much on the magnet this time though. That's good. Let's let that drain and get this thing filled up. At some point, somebody didn't know how to take this lower panel off, and they forced it off, and they broke this tab and broke this tab. Somebody had a clip on there trying to hold that. That didn't work. So I'm gonna put a screw through here and a screw through here after I drill a hole through it, pilot hole for them. So here's the progression of the transmission. That first dot is the first drain. This here is the second drain in the middle. And to the right is clean, fresh fluid. So the goal is to have your transmission fluid come out like it is here on the right. So here are the fancy lights from the S60. This driver's side light is actually good. You can see it has a halogen in there for the high beam. The low beam is this projector, which actually moves around. And everything about this light is fine. You see it's got the securing two holes there. Nothing on the back of it's busted. The only thing that's wrong with this light is that it's scuffed up. Needs to be cleaned. We can do that. Now, the one that was on the other side, it looks fine. It had a little rub mark on it over here. I guess that's a crack in the lens right there. No, that's actually some kind of by design line in it. Goes all the way around. But on the back side, it's busted. It's a gashing hole here. The mount is busted off of it. And the mount's busted off the top of that one. So that one's no good. So I had another one. Let's see what's wrong with the other one. This other one's busted up pretty good on the front. These are both the same lights. And it is shattered on this side. So we roll it around to the back. But the lens doesn't look that bad. Roll it around to the back. And some of the back is fine. We got the top bracket here. Well, it's busted up here. So from here, it's busted down here. So this one's busted on this side. This one's busted on this side. I was thinking about making a clean cut in this case and switching them over, but I didn't know this one was busted up that much. Then I have another one here, which is the driver's side. That's busted up pretty good. And the mechanism that moves that thing is in there. So I believe I have another one. That's a passenger side. That the casing is totally okay. But I don't know if the non-projector style will lock in to the casing like the projector style will. So that's what we're about to find out. Let me go find that light wherever that thing is. Look in the garage for it. So if, at the least, I have extra bulbs. Left Walmart, heard something in my tire back here. Sounded like a screw or a rock or something. Got home, heard the air coming out. That's what you got. Anytime a nail or screw is outside of this two lines of the tread, probably not going to be able to get it fixed. And right there, it's right on the edge. So they're probably going to have to replace that tire for me. Glad I have road hazard warranty. Thank you, Walmart parking lot. Took the S60 to Discount Tires, and they said that whoever installed the tire for me last time failed to put a sensor in there. They installed the tire on the wheel with no sensor. They just put a straight valve stem in there. Crazy. I don't know if they didn't realize it didn't have one or what, but it may have been broken off, so they may have, I don't know why they did that. Anyway, I had them put a sensor out of my other tire in there, and after we drive it 15 miles, that should clear it. So here I go. 15-mile drive, park it for so much time, then drive it again is the procedure. Whoop, whoop. I'll let you know if it goes out while I'm driving. Shouldn't. They say you should have to drive it, park it, and the next time you go to drive it, it'll go out. Well, I drove about 5 miles and I only have one message now. Headlight message. That's a good thing. The tire pressure warning has gone away. This thing has a dead battery. I heard the battery dying yesterday. It started making some weird alarm noise, so I'm gonna replace the battery because I still need to be able to lock and unlock it. Here we are, folks, kicking off the Tinker Day at Tony's place. Tony's kind enough to let me tinker on cars here when I need to. I help him out a little bit. He lets me use the garage. This is Byron's car. We're gonna replace the steering rack. It's leaking pretty bad. And then we're going to replace all 4 corners of the road imperfection absorbent system, which is your struts and shocks. So let's get started. I may actually make a new video on doing the steering rack because I do things a little bit different now than I initially did, and it makes the job a little easier, especially getting those lines loose. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is pop the hood. Reach down here and pull a hood release. Hold that for a couple seconds. Make sure the hood pops, because these P80B cars has issues with that. Let's see if it popped, and it did. And I'm gonna put an engine support brace in here. I got a video linked in the description area to show you how to do that. When you're in a low ceiling space like this, it may be beneficial to remove the hood. I'm gonna try to do it without it, but let me keep moving. Failed to bring the hooks and chains, so had to go get that. I am back. So let me go ahead and finish supporting this engine. Have the engine support bar on there. Not pulling the engine in any direction in particular. Next, I'm gonna jack the car up, put the jack stands under it, and pull the wheels. Since these are aftermarket wheels, I'm gonna go ahead and break the lug nuts loose while it's on the ground, because your normal size socket normally doesn't fit inside the wheel spaces. So I may not be able to use a 1/2-inch sockets to break the lug nuts loose with the impact gun. So I'm gonna go ahead and break them loose now. If you have a good to decent floor jack, I jack the vehicle up by the subframe, making sure it's hooked on the back of it so it doesn't slide off. Make sure your jack is in a position where it can roll. This jack is moved 6 inches. These wheels started out about here. It's rolling while it's jacking up. Get it up high enough, get jack stands under the framage of the car. Let me set those up so you can see where those go. I got the jack stands under there, and I lowered the floor jack a little bit. I'm probably going to put it under here just to keep it in position. But let me show you where I put these floor jacks. Of course, you want your jack stands so that your handles are out where you can get a hold to them. And you put your floor jacks up here where this pinch wheel is for the frame of the car. That way you can get your subframe stuff loose. Now on this car, I'm also doing the front struts, so I'm gonna take that stuff loose as well. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and remove the tires. I got them loose. I'm gonna remove them, slide them under the car in mid-body. I have the wheels off. These wheels have hub-centric rings, so you make sure you don't lose those. Next, I'm gonna knock the bowl joints loose out here on the outer tie rod ends. So I'm gonna remove this bolt and knock these loose. Probably need a sledgehammer to do that. I got that out. I had to lubricate it and heat it and beat it with the sledgehammer. Now I'm gonna try to take this loose here. I lubricated them, we'll put a little heat on it. They haven't been in there long, they should come right off. You can see the boot was torn on that inner tie rod. I took the ABS wire out. You want to take that out with a hand tool, not a power tool. You don't want to break the screw in there. I did spray some penetrant on it, and then I used a screwdriver to pry sideways on it to get it twisted to start coming out. And I also used a screwdriver to pry it out of the holder like that. I'll show you on the other side. I'm gonna leave this connected and do the steering rack. I don't want this flopping around while I got this off. I'm gonna go to the other side and take that loose and that loose and that loose. So I put a couple of drops of penetrant oil or anything I'm gonna loosen. Couple drops there, couple drops there. Don't take much. Anything more than this is probably waste. And already put some here and here. And because we have rust, I'm going to put some heat on that, but it really don't look like it's going to need it. The other side I did have to heat it. If you hit it 20 times and it don't pop loose, put some heat on it. So you knock it loose with the impact gun or whatever tool you have. Then you start beating it with the hammer right here on the end of it until that thing pops out. Still didn't come loose. You can put this on the threads and tap it up just to check it. There it goes, it popped loose. Put the nut back on it. Now you're gonna put the tool on that, bust that loose. It came right loose. I hadn't put these on too long ago. I'm gonna pry this down with a pry bar, put the nut back on there. Then I'm gonna use my hand tool to take this ABS wire off. Use the pry bar to pry that anti-sway bar down so that you can push that out of there. And put the nut on there so you don't lose it. Use a full-size ratchet, put on that 10mm. Slowly break that loose. I'm gonna use two hands because it's trying to turn on me. I could probably use one hand on it. It's only gonna turn so far. Again, up. Slipped off of there, glad it didn't break. It actually broke it loose. You don't want to break that screw, man. Broke one of those the other day, had to tap it out, put another one in there. Use a magnet to get it out if your fingers are too big. Now you want to use a screwdriver down in here to wiggle that thing to the side. It started coming out because they get stuck in there a little bit. Then you massage that out. Now use the screwdriver here to pry it out of that holder. That's done. Now you're ready to take the bolts loose from the steering rack, but you want to do the inside first. I used to try to take that knuckle loose down there, but I've learned that that's too hard of a task, getting that off while it's in the car. So I come inside the car and I take the joint loose in here. Right there, you got a 13mm, and on the 850s you got a 10 on one side, 13 on the other. Take that loose and release it from the steering column neck, and then when you take the steering rack loose under the car, you just pivot that through the floor, man. It is much easier doing it that way. So I normally take the steering wheel loose and pull it back toward the back of the car before I do that. I stick the key in the ignition, unlock the steering wheel, and I turn it so that the bolt is where I can get at it real easy. Then I take that bolt out and go from there. Remove the nut, tap the bolt out, and you should be able to wiggle this thing out of here. Or you just drop the subframe and it'll come out. So now it's loose. Now if this steering wheel's unlocked, this steering wheel will spin around 360 degrees if it's not attached to that, so that's no problem. Next, I'm gonna break all the bolts loose to lower the subframe. I got 2 14s here, 18 here. Then I got this bolt on top of this sidekick mount here. That's what I call it, a sidekick mount. On the top, that'll let you lower the subframe down. That also adjusts the height of the engine. Make sure you're not resting on this mount over here, which it looks like this one is. So this probably needs to be adjusted up when I put this back in. So I'll lower the subframe, raise that bolt up a little bit, raise this bolt up, and that'll pick this transmission up off of that mount right there. Really shouldn't be resting on that bump stop. Let me go ahead and loosen those bolts. Then I'm gonna take the bolts loose from the rack, which I have a bolt there, a nut there, 2 here, and 2 on the other side. I don't recommend you use a impact for those because it might break the cast nuts loose, the vibrations. Okay, you got another 18 millimeter one there, it looks like, which I think it just has a guard. So let me go ahead. 2 15s, that one, and then the 2 15s on the other side. Then I'm gonna do that nut there and these subframe bolts. I got that bolt removed all the way, and for some reason I had to hold that bolt. It was pivoting for some reason. I don't know if that's realistic, but I did end up holding that lower nut. Of course, this rod should not be turning. It could wiggle because it is in that mount, but it's welded on top of that metal plate. I took the 4 bolts out of the end of the rack, but this bolt here that goes in the rack support there is spinning. So I'm gonna take the side bolt out, and then I removed the subframe bolt. The subframe did fall about 3 inches, which is good. Lets me know it's not stuck to the bottom of the car. So let me go ahead, take that bolt loose, then I'm gonna work on getting the lines loose. It is 3 o'clock, it's lunchtime, and I need to go get my wheel from Discount Tires. So I'm breaking for a break. I did get both of those lines loose. One was finger tight. The other one had to have some heat on that thing, man. I'm back. The fine people up there at Discount Tires. What the heck? Oh, that's just dirty. In Terrytown, a little bit north of Cincinnati, 22-mile exit mark. Took those ugly weights off my wheel for me. Thank you. And I am back in business looking good. So let me get back to work here. That took 1 hour and 15 minutes. Now let me get this rack out of here. It is ready to drop. I actually think to wrestle this rack out of here, I'm gonna have to let the front subframe bolts down some and remove that bracket from beside that rack right there. It's got that 18 under it. So let me do that, and might have to get that other bracket out of there too, because it may be in the way of sliding this rack out. Got that front subframe bolt loose there about halfway. I brought this one down about 1 inch halfway. That dropped the back of this down after I removed the 2 bolts from that front engine mount. It dropped down. I was able to get the rack low enough so that I can lift it out of this side. Again, I did remove that support bracket there, got it loose from the other side, moved the other side out. Then I was able to spin it counterclockwise to get this from out of the tunnel and I pulled it out, slid the new one in, got it up in the air, lined up, put this bracket back in, got all 5 of the holes to drop through. These 2 here, those 2 there, and that center one there. Turn that bolt down snug. I got the bracket back in there before I got any of those bolts in there. I put that bolt on there, hadn't tightened it yet. So I'm getting ready to tighten that middle support one first, after I get all 4 of the 2 on the far ends started. And let me get the rack secured to the subframe, and then start raising this up slowly with the bolts and making sure that joint here goes in the hole properly when I start going up with it. Okay, I tightened up the front 2 subframe bolts. Didn't tighten them all the way. I ran them up in there. Came back here, I made sure this was going in the hole, but as it was going in, it was pushing on the boot. It wouldn't flap inside. So I went inside and pushed the boot up over the end of the elbow joint. So now the point of the elbow joint is inside. And as this was coming up, I guided this bolt through that mount bracket, and it is going up through there, and we are looking good. I torqued all of the bolts on the bottom of the rack, all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. And I learned that this bump stop on the back where the angle gear can bump is missing, so I need to get another bump stop for that. So I'm gonna keep on going here, and I should have put a nut on top of here with a washer before I let this down on there to give this some raise, because I found out that this bolt broke. So this bolt here and this washer is screwing the 2 together. That's why that top one was turning when I was taking that loose. So I need to find some spacer to put on there, a clamp or something, so that that doesn't come down as far and rest on this bump stop over here. I'm pretty much done with the steering rack, other than the alignment I need to do. The steering wheel is straight, and it looks like it's turned a little bit to the left. So I'm going to do an alignment on this tomorrow and replace the shocks and struts. So let me get out of here, because it's too late to really start another job. About to load up the car, make sure I got my tools for doing struts, take that spare tire out of there, and head up to Tony's so we can finish up this V70R. Whoop whoop. Kicking off the Tinker Day. Hey, I didn't remove this engine support bar yesterday. I'm gonna start off by doing that, and then removing the strut on this side and replacing that, and moving on from there. Take me 7 seconds to push these up and down, and they fall down real slow. I think these are good ones. Slowly falling down. It looked like it stopped there. Still going down. This one here, see how long it takes me to push it down. I'm gonna pull it up first. It's up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5.5 seconds down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 seconds up. I don't know if it ever falls down, but these are the same. One's got probably 180,000 on it. The other one's got probably 10 or 15,000. I'm putting these on. Blew another brake line. I thought the fact that I cut it open, it wouldn't blow, but it blew anyway. But I got it loose, so let's replace it. Bleeder screw busted off of this caliper here, so I had to bleed it through that line there, which is the next best thing. I'm not sure if I want to try to take that bleeder screw out of there. I don't have another one to put in there. So that's something I need to put on my list for things to have. I put this bracket on, secured the wire, placed the brake line. Let me torque this. I'm not sure if I torque that. And then put the wheel on and torque it. We are back. Starting off with this brake line over here. Already got the strut in. Then we're going to torque everything down. Put the wheel on. Whoop, whoop. Learned something new today. That sleeve of the shock is what holds the nut still up top. So when you try to break the nut loose, this sleeve down here is spinning. So if you hold that still, somebody up top could bust that nut off and on. Hope that makes sense. We are done with the rear shocks, getting ready to go for a test drive. And we'll be done. Alignment didn't seem too bad, but I did have to straighten out the steering wheel. It was pointing at 2 o'clock. So there's that front tire, looking pretty straight. And this one here is looking pretty straight. But recommend him get in alignment anyway. Kicking off the Tinker Day, I have a dilemma, and that is the driveway up here is somewhat level. Somewhat, not level, somewhat. And here, halfway and down to the sidewalk, it's got a good slope in it. And if a car's not running, which this car is not because I've taken the engine apart, I need to get the car up on the level portion of the driveway so I can work under it and pull the engine. Last time I pulled the engine with the car in this position, it fell off the engine hoist, went rolling down onto the sidewalk because I lost control of it. So I got a winch like the one I broke a couple years ago, and I'm gonna see if I could screw it into the asphalt here and use it to pull a car up into the level-ish part of the driveway. I'm gonna test it in the street before I drill holes in my driveway here. I could probably just do it in the driveway, but anyway, I'm gonna test it in the street first. So let me go ahead and do that. Try to anchor that thing in the street, see if it'll pull that car up the hill, and if it'll do that, I should be able to pull cars up into this driveway here with it. So the winch has the ability to have 3 or 4 mounting holes. 3 on the back, 1 on the front. So let me see how big those holes are and get a drill bit that big. My 1/2-inch bit's too big to fit in there, so let me go find smaller bits. Drilling the holes was easy, went right in, but man, this bit just snapped in 2 places going in there. I did not expect that. I had it set to the strongest setting, and it drilled in that ground like butter, but I didn't expect that bit to break. I was able to get that out of the ground. So I got 3 holes in front of that yellow car. I'm gonna use 3 of these bolts to anchor that to the ground. I don't know if it'll bolt them in the ground, but I'm gonna slide them in there, see if the asphalt and dirt will pull that car up the street. Let me finish setting this up and get a battery out. I got the car hooked up with a lot of weight on it, but let me go ahead and turn the steering wheel a little bit more so it don't come into the curb, and it's holding the car. So let me see if it'll pull the car up. All right, I got the wheel turned a little more. See if it'll pull the car up without coming out of the ground. This is not ideal. It's not anchored in it as in as much. But if this car breaks loose, I'm gonna have to run and jump in it. Pulling the car up with no problem. Let me go straighten out the steering wheel. Seems like my theory's working well. It jerked. Still holding the car. Pulled the car up a half a car length so far. That's far enough. I'm pretty sure my theory's working. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this loose and get in the driveway and do what I gotta do. Couple safety tips. One, you never want to be in line of the cable that's pulling with a winch. Two, you don't want to step over a cable. So let me take this out a little bit, take some slack off of this, and pull this out of the ground. See if it made these holes a weird shape. Nope, those holes still look pretty solid. And I could just put a little plug or something in those holes when I'm not using them to slow down water infiltration, but I don't think that'll be a problem. But I don't see any cracks or anything, so I should be good to go. Kicking off the Tinker Day. This is the final day for getting parts off of this S60. I want to get the engine, the transmission, all four calipers, the front seats, maybe this coolant bottle, the horns, and see what else I get out of this thing. I don't know if I can get the alternator. Definitely want that AC compressor. I'm gonna leave a dead battery in there. I'm not gonna leave that one. Yesterday I tried to pull this car up in here with the little winch I got. I drilled holes in the ground in this asphalt, and the asphalt in this driveway isn't as tight as the asphalt in the street. It worked fine in the street, but here I didn't drill them as deep. I got down so far and I felt something kind of like a crustacean. Wasn't sure if it was pipe in the ground, so I stopped. But when I dropped the winch in the ground and tried to pull the car up the driveway, it started coming out of the ground, so I just shut it down and moved the car in the driveway another way. I'm gonna try to do this the easy way. I'm actually gonna take the whole caliper off, bracket and all. I'm gonna remove this hydraulic line, plug that electrical line, and take the two bolts out. See if I can slide that thing off. I don't want these rusty rotors. I got both of the rear calipers off. Thinking about taking that drive shaft out. So I'm gonna lift the front up, put it on jack stands as well, and get the front pulled apart. Then work on getting this engine out and transmission and exhaust off. So I'm gonna jack it up right in the middle so it don't come off either one of those jack stands. I started jacking up that side over there and it came off the jack stand on that right rear. So let me pick it up in the middle. I cut the line. I got the fluid dripping in there. I'm gonna hit the two caliper bolts. They look like 16s. Remove the bracket with the calipers. Just got done having my lunch break. Getting back on this thing, man. I'm trying to get this driver's side CV axle out. It is very difficult. But lunch was good. Had some mole. Let me get back with this. Man, they got wire harness like threaded through this thing like an octopus. But I need to step this up and get this done. Having a real hard time getting this CV axle out. This is the angle I'm at now with this thing. It looked like it should be out. Let me try to pull on it a little bit. I pulled this control arm loose like that. Pried this CV axle out of the hub. Got that pry bar behind the CV axle like that. Then went under it. Pound this big screwdriver in there. Then used the pry bar in there. Finally popped that thing out. That was really tough. Next, I'm gonna come under here and disconnect the wire harness from the starter. Looks like it has two nuts on there, 13 there and a 10 up there. I unclipped the wire harness zip ties. I'm gonna take this bolt out here because I want to keep this bracket on the bottom of the engine. Maybe protect this starter if I set it on the ground or something. So I'm gonna pull it out. Looks like an 18. Next, I'm gonna pull the battery and disconnect all the wire harness that I can from all these components so that I could see what I have to take loose on top to get the mounts loose and find something to hook up to the engine. I'm gonna pull all the bolts out of the bottom of the battery tray, pull the battery tray out, Then I'm gonna take these ground wires loose here and start working my way across. Just taking the wires off everywhere I can to unhook them from the engine. Of course, if you're at the salvage yard, you could do this down and dirty and just start cutting the wire harnesses loose. To get this linkage loose from the transmission, you push down on the button in the middle and lift up on it. Now I'm gonna pull it out of this bracket back here, get it out of the way. Trying to take the two heater lines loose. I pulled the clip out and I'm trying to pry it off of there. But man, that does not come off easy. It is very difficult to get that loose. Let me get the other one loose. Taking this wire harness loose, this main harness, and the PMP switch harness was stuck under this water pipe. But I was able to get it out by pulling a couple strands at a time up through this gap between this bracket here. So that's the only way to get that out without cutting it. Other place is difficult without removing the AC compressor. This 8mm here and that 10mm ground wire there. I believe I got the last wire plugged off of here. One of the wire plugs went to the turbo little wire thing there. The other end of that wire went to an O2 sensor. So I unplugged it. I gotta thread it out of there. So next I'm gonna remove this wheel, caliper, and CV axle from this side. I didn't realize this, but there's a lower engine mount over here, and that engine mount is in the way of that lower bolt for that CV axle. So I'm probably gonna have to pull that mount out in order to get the CV axle out on this side. I was able to get that bolt broke loose with that ratcheting box then. It was very hard, had to use a pry bar. I turned it really all the way out. Long screwdriver on the bottom, my finger on the top. But it hits the mount, it won't come out. Not sure if the axle will. I'm gonna try to knock the carrier holder loose, see if I can slide the axle out. And it did come out like a magic trick. So let me remove this lower engine mount and see if I could get this exhaust out from down here somehow. This carrier bracket goes like this. It looks like the large part is on the bottom and the smaller part's on top. And the writing goes like that. Solid area pointing down, hollow arrow pointing up, and the number being read from this side, like that. The heat shield on the back of this engine is two-piece. One piece over here and the other piece attached to the back of the engine. So you got a 10mm around here, need a 6-point, a 10 here, and a 10 there. Unclip it and you can pull this half of the heat shield off. Then you have access to the bolts to get the downpipe off. And man, I think this is a cat way up here. It's really strange. So I got a bolt there, a bolt there. I can't feel a bolt here. Let's come through the other side. So I took this water pipe off the back of the engine, because that's the only way you can get this heat shield loose. And it's got a bolt down there and 3 bolts bolted in the exhaust manifold. Well, to my surprise, there's a bolt missing out of that turbo. I muscled this heat shield out of here and bent this coolant pipe, only to find out that there's a bolt there, a bolt down there, and this one up here is missing. So should be 3 bolts get this downpipe loose. And then I'm gonna go and unhook the angle gear, and looks like I got this catalytic converter bolted there. Not sure if that's 1 or 2 bolts. Looks like 2. One in the side of the transmission, one on top, but we'll see. Then I'll work on getting these upper mounts loose and see if I could hook this thing up to something and lift it out of here. I'm not sure what I'm gonna hook it up to here. if I remove this AC compressor, the bracket under that may be a good thing, lifting point. Then this bracket here will be a good lifting point after I pull that bolt out of the top of that mount there. Still haven't got this wire loose from this rear O2 sensor. It's tangled up in there somehow. So this bracket on the back of this catalytic converter here has a bolt there, a bolt down on the side that's a 13. Pretty much able to turn that out by hand, but heck, I think I might have pulled the wrong bolt. I see another bolt there. Oh crap, I pulled a bolt from the angle gear and missed the bolt from the bracket. So I gotta pull that bolt. Then there's a bolt on the other side of this bracket that I put this wrench there on, 13, and I leaned on it with the long pry bar to break it loose. I hope that's the right bolt. Let me get this other bolt, see what happens. All right, so this downpipe where it bolts onto the turbo flange has 4 bolts. One here, one up here, and now I see one down there. So you got to get all 4 of those out, and then this one bolt right here on this bracket, and then this downpipe and cat should be loose from the exhaust flange. I just took all 6 bolts out of the drive shaft that's on the back of the angle gear. I took the bolt out of this mount here, that was 15. The drive shafts was 8mm hexes. I'm gonna take this mount bolt out right here. Then I need to take this fuel line loose from over here. It's got a white connector on it. Then I'll go up top, take a couple mounts loose up there, and I should be ready to lift this thing out of here. So let me take this loose here. Probably gonna have to take the AC compressor out to hook up to a bracket there, lift this engine out. I think there's only 2 more things holding this engine in here. Besides a couple of ground wires, I just spotted one here. I don't see none nowhere else. But this mount here, I got to take this fuse box loose to get the 2 8mm under there, and then take this plate off right here with these look like 18s, and this mount right here sitting on there. I can pull that bolt out, and I'm gonna run the chain under there, and I'm gonna run the chain under this bracket here that holds the AC in. And hopefully that'll be strong enough to lift the engine and transmission up out of here. Oops. Didn't mean to break that. But I don't know if that matters. That might have actually been in the way for me. I broke one of them before. I had to replace one. Anyway, let me go ahead and get that plate off of there. And take that mount loose. And then take that loose. And I should be able to lift this engine out. I got the engine hoisted from here. I hope it don't break anything, like crush that thing on the side or something. Under here, and under that big mount bracket there, I lift it up a little bit, and I see that this is not going to work, so I pulled these 2 bolts here so I can lift this mount up out of the way. And then I'll try to get the engine up again. This bracket right here is in the way, so I'm gonna remove it. I got 3 bolts and this little cap bolt here. Get this bracket out of the way, because right now my chain is hitting it. I'm coming up, and this tab here, I think that's an airbox support tab. Look like it's in the way, so I'm gonna get my Sawzall and slice that off. Then I may be able to jack this up a little bit more and slide it forward and work my way forward and up with it. Basically, I was stuck. Engine and trans coming up together The trans is too wide over here. The engine is rubbing against there. So I tilted the engine, the front of it up, dropped the transmission down a little bit. I'm gonna try to get it up to clear this frame over here. It's pressed up against here, but I got a little bit of movement now. So let me try to jack it up a little more. See if the front of it will clear it, then I could be able to pivot it out of there. Man, it's really hard getting this engine out the top. It is stuck. I need to get this transmission side down and back, and that'll give me room to pick this front up. But this thing has to twist this forward, that back. Right now I got tension on here and this thing is still stuck. So I gotta figure this out. I'm gonna take a dinner break and come back at it. Took this bracket off the transmission, the side of this AC bracket. Let's see if it'll come out now. We got it out, finally. I'm gonna take a couple of parts out of here. I'm gonna take that sensor there. I don't see where I can get any ABS stuff, but I'm gonna try to get this exhaust worked out of here. So I'm gonna take those hangers loose and see if I could get this exhaust. I might have to cut the pipe back there. And this is it. If you made it this far, I trust that you found some information that was either useful or entertaining, so go ahead and hit the like button. And if you would like notification of future videos that I post, please subscribe to the channel. I appreciate your support. You can follow me on other social media apps by looking for @RobertDIY. Some form of that should bring up the other channels that I have on places like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and so forth. If for some reason you need some more personal help, go to my website at robertdiy.com and use the phone number that I have posted there to send me a text message, or you can email me. If you have questions or comments, please make a comment below. And if you'd like to make some kind of financial contribution to what I got going on here, go to my channel and hit the more link at the end of the introduction statement, and it'll show you different ways that you can support me financially. Again, thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day.